Welcome to In the Word. My name is Dr. Robert McKenzie, and we want to talk about the darkness of marriage. The question is asked, will you marry me? And the answer is yes. The rings are bought, and the wedding is now being planned. The invitations go out to all family and friends, and now the ceremony begins. The vows are made, and the rings are exchanged, and kisses are made. The minister announces that the two are husband and wife, and they go off to live what should be a healthy marriage and a great life. But after a few years, things start to happen, and now they question the fact about getting married in the first place. They may have had even a couple of children, which in turn makes it difficult as well. So what you thought may have been a lifetime of joy and happiness, but that's not what is happening right now. Yelling and screaming develop. Violence and pushing develop. Someone physically cheats, and when it's found out, the other feels they have the right to cheat as well, getting arrested and going to jail. The money is not being spent well, and someone will either lose their job or decide to quit. They try to seek counseling, but the other person is either unavailable or not interested. So now it's time to go to divorce court, and depending on what state you are in, the estate is broken up equally. Children are now being argued over and forced to make a decision on who they want to live with. Then all of a sudden, one person goes to church and begins to pray and seek God's will in marriage, but the other person is not interested and does not care about faith. So now the divorce has happened, and each couple has the right to do what they want to. They meet someone new, and the process begins all over again. I believe that the darkness of marriage begins when a couple invites God into the ceremony, but not into the marriage. They want God's help now that things are falling apart. And believe it or not, they start the process again without being healed from the old marriage and relationship. That is what I call the darkness of marriage. Within scriptures, it teaches us that we don't have to accept the darkness of anything. John chapter 1 verse 5 says, "The light shines in the darkness, and the darkness has not overcome it." You see, that is because we are light and not darkness, and darkness should never be a part of our life and our marriages. 1 John chapter 1 verse 5 says, "This is the message we have heard from him and proclaim to you, that God is light, and in him is no darkness at all." The word of God tells us that there is no darkness in us, but only light. But sometimes, because of our action and the things that we do and that we say, tends to bring about darkness in many forms. Remember this, the chaos around you should never override the calmness and the light in you. All we have to do is follow the will and the word of God, and darkness shall not be a part of our marriages and our relationships. When the darkness comes, we must turn to the word. We must fight it out. We must pray without ceasing that God's will is done in our marriages. As a divorced pastor in my younger years, I never applied this concept to my marriage, so it fell apart and appeared to have created darkness. So when I remarried my wife, Tawanda, and for the first and the last 27 years, I have lived light, walked light, talked light, prayed light, and worshiped light in my marriage. Granted, there have been some ups and downs, some ins and some outs, some mountains and some valleys. There have been times when we both have been frustrated, agitated, and heavy-hearted. But through it all, we believed in the totality of God's power working dynamically through us. There were times when we had to go to counseling, and because of that, we were able to begin the process of the salvation of our marriage. I am excited every day that I wake up and that I can see her beautiful face. And my job is to make her happy in spite of my issues. That's what the Bible calls agape love, that I seek my wife's love and desires well above mine. And she does the same thing, which allows us to create a home that is full of light, full of joy, full of happiness, and full of mercy. And now, our job is to develop a ripple effect so that it goes toward our children and our grandchildren. Therefore, in spite of it all, they can go through life and they can see that God is able. God doesn't want our marriages to be dark and operate in darkness, but be glorious. And it is our job to walk in the light and seek the light. My name is Dr. Robert McKenzie, and you have been listening to In the Word. God bless you, and God keep you is our prayer. This is Dr. Robert McKenzie from In the Word podcast. We want you to know that every time you support our podcast through our Cash App, all of the money goes straight to supporting the In the Word ministries. The sales from my book all go to support the ministry of In the Word podcast. Thank you, and God bless you.